15 episodes in here, folks. This is
15
episode number 15.
All the horrible things. Scariest sci-fi creature edition. Sci-fi horror creature edition. What are we gonna call it? Does that sound good?
That's a great
Along those
question,
lines?
because I don't know if I saw you write this or I just maybe misread something, but I was saying scariest space creatures.
There you go. I like that one. Let's do that. They either reside in space, have come from space, and are messing with us here on Earth.
Right.
Yes, and go either way on that. But yes, I like that. Scariest space creatures. Beautiful. And we're going to do a top 20 just like we did with our top 10. I think we only did a top 10 for that. Top 10 scariest villains in horror. Something along those lines, right? I mean, it's 15 episodes in. Who could remember?
I was a different person back then. I was
But back then it was all about our personal feelings and why one became scarier over the other. We're kind of doing that same thing, but now with these sci-fi monsters.
Yeah. Wow. And I think we'll just jump into it. My number 20
What do you got for 20?
Is something that that recently came out. It's kind of a goofy movie called Moonfall.
Moonfall. Yes, with the Selenites. You actually got through that whole movie, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm a sucker for Roland Emmerich films. That always seemed like a fun idea.
I used to, in my teens, very excited because this is an Independence
Day
right? So,
guy. Yeah.
As an 18-year-old seeing Independence in the theater, that was amazing. I was like so in awe of what is it? Is it Randy Quaid and his ability to really draw an audience? He's a very convincing guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he seems like he follows all the smartest people and the smartest theories out there, that Quaid. But when it comes to Moonfall, we have a good cast. It could have been good.
Yeah, it could have been good. There was, I mean, there's an actual, I mean, I don't think in films we say jump the shark, but there's definitely a moment in this movie where you're like, all right, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell? The moon is basically hollow.
Yes.
And we find out
superstructure.
Megastructure? Superstructure.
Megastructure, okay. The dude from Game of Thrones kept calling it superstructure, megastructure, and that was his bit. He knew. He was this kind of like wacko guy, but he knew what was going on compared to the real scientists.
Yeah, yeah. Spoiler alert here that the moon is a megastructure. It's protecting a white dwarf star that's at the center. And I'm not going to go down into the aliens that actually... You find out there are two groups of aliens here. There are the ones that are trying to protect what's going on, and then there are the Selenites who are trying to destroy the human race, because it's essentially about how artificial intelligence got out of control. You know, it's that old story, and now they want to destroy humans. So... on paper that sounds cool, but they really just...
And I was intrigued by the preview. It has Bad Moon Rising as the soundtrack. It looked cool. And Halle Berry looking young and, ready to kick Moonshin's butt. But I didn't get through it. I turned it off. And that's rare for me.
I certainly don't blame you. It
barely qualifies as horror. I think this is more straight sci-fi. What do you think? Were you scared at any point?
Oh no, there's no horror elements. I mean, I think this movie would have been so much better if it was just about the moon, coming off of its axis and rotation and like coming closer to the Earth. They touch on that a little bit about how it changes the tides. Everything's really disrupted here. But no. It's sci-fi movie at heart.
I gotta admit, I feel like I gotta go back now that I find out that there's two types of aliens. One's the Selenites, which is like kind of like Venom, right? It's like this big Venom sort of like black goo.
That's interesting. We never find out exactly what it's made up of. I almost think that it's more like a metallic entity because it's formed from artificial intelligence. So at some point, it was an electronic or machine type. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Let's just keep going.
Before I get to my 20 of mine, I'm going to say I'd put that one in combination at number 17, just because the idea of like a blackness coming at you, that does have some scary factor. I wouldn't put it at the bottom of the list for me. But I combined that with Calvin from Life. I don't know if you saw this Ryan Reynolds.
I did.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
I saw that one in the theater too.
Pretty lame movie, but the creature is a smaller version of what I saw in the Selenites in the little bit that I saw there. It's more of a biological black being that can kind of get into you and destroy you from the inside, sort of thing. But it's Venom-esque, so I just feel like I've seen it too much. It doesn't get under my skin. But my 20, only because they're kind of freaky looking, but for the most part, they're not malevolent creatures. The prawns from District 9. I don't find them scary. Sure. So I had to put them in there as my bottom ones. They look a little scary if you didn't have context for them. Right. If they hadn't been, segregated as they were. I love District 9 and I love the metaphor going on there. Yeah. The actual aliens themselves are kind of the underdog in the movie, which makes it so interesting.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's about, class and wealth, and it's really interesting, like how terrible
humans... It might be the only one on my list that I'm rooting for the alien.
Exactly.
Hence the lack of scare.
Unless you had put Paul on here.
Oh, yes. That's good. Paul didn't make the cut, though. We're going to have to do a comedy horror creatures one.
Yeah.
Well, let me hit you with my 19.
Please.
Because this is one of the ones I rewatched this week for this cast.
Oh, great.
I'm not sure it was worth it, because you really only see this thing at the very, very end in one small screenshot. And that's Europa's creature, Europa Report's creature, which is like essentially a bioluminescent squid that lives on the moon of Jupiter, Europa. You remember seeing this one? It's a found footage space movie, and that I appreciate it because that's its own genre. Haven't seen it.
I have not seen this.
It's worth watching. This is the third time I've watched it, so maybe it taxed me a little bit based on that. But because it is found footage, and ultimately it's about a mission that is trying to see what is there on Europa, but nobody comes back. Spoiler alert. But they are able to recover the final footage that had kind of like cut out for the last 48 hours that they were on Europa dealing with tragedies. Interestingly enough, mentioning District 9, Charlton Copley's in this one too. And Charlton's the lead of District 9.
Yeah.
And he starts to empathize in District 9 with those aliens. In this one, he actually doesn't even come across it. Sadly. He dies of more technical means. They all die. Just FYI. Okay.
Spoiler alert. And that's okay. It is.
I mean, it's found footage. They established at the beginning that's a failed mission, and we got this footage that happened in the last 48 hours. But the creature's not scary. The concept is really scary in that Europa is a real planet, and then Europa is one of the few places out there that could harbor life because it has water underneath the ice. I just don't know why they went. They really look like the mechanical squid things in Matrix, but just a little more bio. But they still have very similar, a lot of light eyeballs. I don't think it was mechanical. But watching it with Mara, she was all, this looks like a machine, and it couldn't have been a machine because it's on Europa, sort of thing. So I don't think it did a really great job with design. Granted, you only see one little shot of it before the camera cuts, It was a little cheap in that way, but at the same time it was Jaws-esque in that you don't see it till the end, so your imagination runs wild. It just couldn't live up to what your imagination was,
I totally get it.
What do you got at 19?
My number 19 are and I'm basing this off of the list that you and I were talking about initially. 19 are the invaders from War of the Worlds.
Oh, okay. All right. Interestingly, there's a lot of these movies where they're very similar in nature. These kind of big-headed, long-armed creatures. The invaders. Why weren't they scary to you? Because they're a machine that evaporates people. Scary. That opening sequence where people are just getting poofed
from the laser, right? And that's what I was going to ask you is like when you said invaders, I'm like, does this count that we're also talking about their technology?
I think not, because coming in at my 18 is very similar. It's the harvesters from Independence Day, where they look scary, but then it turns out they're these little scrawny guys in the suits.
Right.
You remember?
Right.
So if you were to look at the War of the Worlds with those big laser machines that come out of the ground, which let's talk about that for a second.
Please.
The lightning bolts activate what has been buried underground forever, right? The machines.
Right.
And
they burrow up. Right.
The machines themselves there's no biological life in there to begin with. These are just annihilation machines that are activated by the lightning strikes from what we're assuming are the ships where the biological life is now invading in War of the Worlds. Right? I've seen this movie so many times and I'm still not entirely clear on what's going on.
And to be honest with you, that's why Invaders are down on my 19, because I didn't find that movie all that scary, but the aliens behind them, they didn't really. I feel like in the production of this movie, or maybe even pre-production when they were talking about the design, they put more thought into the machine and like the drone-like laser machines that follow people around and zap them. I think more went into that than the actual aliens. I mean, if we were going to talk about, I think the aliens from Mars Attacks are scarier than these guys.
Oh, yes. That's back to the comedy horror one. But you're right. They are kind of freaky. Right. Even though they look a little too animated. They're sinister. But I'm with you. I kind of missed putting those guys even on my list, it looks like. I'm kind of ashamed about that. But
the Mars Attacks guys?
No, the War of the Worlds Invaders. Yeah, they somehow slipped my list, I guess, because I, too, don't remember being that scary. The only time you really deal with them that much is in the Tim Robbins scene in the basement.
Yeah.
Right? Where they're kind of creeping. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Is Tim Robbins already dead at that point? I'm going to have to go back and watch.
That's a great question. I just remember like that vent that they're coming, like the
right.
They're all hiding down there, and the kids are like too close to that vent.
We got rid of the brat son too. Remember we talked about my dislike of that kid playing the catch.
The cool kid.
I mean, in that sense, that movie got better then. But really, the only scene where the dam is the lightning strikes and the first Zapparinis.
Yeah, great opening.
And just the chaos of them like having to steal a car. All the cars, EMTs are dead, or whether they're solenoids. So
they have to go to the vintage, the American muscle car.
There was some good stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, it was well thought out.
I think. Did you watch the War of the Worlds TV show? That was recently on BBC.
I have not yet.
It's worth a look. It's very interesting. I liked it. It's scarier than this one.
It's on Apple TV, or
it might be on Apple TV now. It's got Gabriel Byrne.
Oh right. No, I think
Gabriel Byrne.
Was this on Epix then? Because I remember not being able to access it immediately.
Could have been Epix. Could have been Stars. It's one of the ones that are less likely to get, but it's definitely worth a gander. What'd you have at 18? Did you already tell me?
No, at 18. I have the Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay, that's not on my list either.
I remember as a kid watching this late at night and just these weird balloon-like creatures that are clowns. They terrified me because, well, one, they felt lifeless even though they were comedic. They felt just. They would do anything that they wanted, and it was terrifying. And then you're a kid, and these are clowns.
Full disclosure for me, I as a kid was scared by the cover jacket of the VHS. Then, as a manager of Blockbuster and Hollywood Videos, I was still scared, and I never saw it. Just based on the cover jacket, it seemed like, you know what, this is too far gone for me. I'm not sure I can appreciate this. It's just going to give me nightmares.
Yeah, it's more of a goofy movie, but it's there are moments where you like, I'm not going to say they're jump scares, but when you see this just clown waiting for you, it's terrifying. And the fact that the alien life looks like these clowns, I just love it. I love it.
Yes, in which you brought up another clown, which I think is probably higher on your list, but didn't make my list. We'll talk about that one later.
Yeah.
We're going to skip my 17 because we already talked about it, the Selenites and Calvin from Life.
Right.
What do you got at 17?
My number 17 are the white spikes from the Tomorrow War, which as a movie...
One of the newest ones we're talking about.
Right. And as a movie, I didn't love the movie itself, but I liked the creature design.
Me too.
And I think the only negative thing is at times they seem a little bit too CG.
Yeah.
Kind of like the problem with I Am Legend when like there are moments where, or even Signs, there's this great buildup of these aliens, and then there's times where you see them and they're not as scary. It's
yeah. No, I get that. I remember watching them like this is going to really depend on how good the design of the alien is as I was watching. It's a big deal when Prime dropped this. It's kind of their first big budget sci-fi, right?
Yeah, like a blockbuster. Yeah.
Wrangled in Chris Pratt. I'm sure they're hoping to make more of them. I don't know how well it did. I'm gonna go as far as to say I liked the movie. I thought it might have been too long, but I enjoyed it and I wanted to finish it. And I found them scarier than you. They come in at 12 for me, mostly because of the speed, of them. And we'll talk about other time hopping creatures here in a few. But just when an alien has the ability to manipulate time like that, and when you're dealing with that sort of thing, that gets me. When there's extra layers, temporal layers, that's scary to me because I don't know what time is. I don't get it. I'm still unclear on time.
Sure.
I'm not a time expert, so you add that to aliens, and that's
why
I put it at 12.
All right. What was your number?
And they were scary. They're so fast, and they were hideous looking. And it's very rare that you can pull off like a white sort of bug sort of creature. Well,
I thought they did if they weren't white, people would have said that they're too much of a ripoff of the Xenomorph.
Or Quiet Places.
Yes.
I feel like they're almost more like Quiet Places.
I feel like once they were in pre-production and someone saw them, like, no, there's either we got to come up with a new creature alien or you do something different with them. But they're like, all right, let's make them white.
That being said, I did have to look them up in a way that I never would have to with stuff like Aliens or Predators. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I couldn't exactly remember what they looked like.
Yeah.
I remember in real time enjoying it, and that's the same for my number 5. No, I'm 16. Never mind. I'm jumping ahead of myself. 16 is a combo for me. It's the Mesozoin from The Faculty, as well as the long one from Slither, because we both have these sort of like, and even, I mean, you could even toss in an Invasion of the Body Snatcher sort of thing here. It's where the seeds implant you and become you. That is scary because it is metaphoric for like disease, coming out of COVID. It belongs higher on the list, maybe simply because of its relatability these days. But certainly when we're talking about the Nathan Fillion movie, Slither, it's a little too comedic to be super scary, but at the same time, at the end when she's all like, the one woman is all super bloated and has all the eggs in her.
Oh man,
that was scary. That was really gross.
It was almost like the movie Society, but they were like morphing into like one. I don't know what the term is right now, but
it was Blob-esque. You know what I mean?
It was Blob-esque for sure.
It was Blob-esque.
Yeah.
And I will say, The Faculty is such an unsung,
very
movie.
Underrated. Yeah.
And the way that the creatures are able to then supplant themselves in people, but then have the capacity to the Thing-esque sorta in a way.
Yeah, or the Invasion of the Body Snatchers type of
right, where the people can still know themselves, they're still themselves and able to kind of come off normal. And of course to see Jon Stewart get in the face with Paper Slicer.
What a cast in The Faculty. I mean, you could say the same thing about Slither,
That's true. No, powerhouse casts.
Yep.
I would argue that The Faculty's cast is even more stacked.
Sure.
But
sure.
Was Slither James Gunn's first directorial?
Not his first. I mean, I think it's his
Lollipop
first.
he had before that, right?
Well, actually, James Gunn worked with Troma first, and he did a Romeo and Juliet horror movie for Troma, which is, Troma's well known for. I mean, a lot of
like visceral horror,
B-rated. Yeah, yeah. But he got his start doing that, and I think I would argue that this is the first movie that, like, put his name out there. Yeah.
Fair. Rightly so. You got a young Elizabeth Banks in it too. And at that time, I think he was married to Pam Beesly in it. Can't remember.
Jenna Fisher's
in it
too. And he was. They were married.
Part.
Yeah.
But these sort of like little bug infection aliens.
Worm type.
The worm. Parasite sort of. That's coming in at 16. Where do they rank on yours?
The slugs from Slither, or the long ones, come in at number 11 for me because I am so disgusted by them. Their
Have you ever had a leech on you?
Never, and I hope I never do.
Okay. I mean, there was that one friend of ours back in COD, out of a leech. We'll leave it there. I'm kidding, of course.
We hung out in the woods a lot.
That's a point.
My number 16.
I was out in the woods this past weekend. I was worried about ticks. It was like a genuine fear. It was like, man, do not want Lyme disease.
What were you doing in the woods?
I got a buddy who just moved back from California, and he just moved to Westchester, and he's within walking distance of a woods. It was like, let's go hike a little bit.
Like a hike,
and we did. It was nice.
That's excellent.
A little sloppy, a little muddy, but I did find this one tree that was struck by lightning, and the black scar on it looks like a bear climbing it. I'll have to get it to you.
Please do.
It was nice to get some fresh air here in Chicago. The season is finally getting a little nicer around here. Where are we at?
My number 16. Maybe something that, I don't think it's on your list, and I don't know if we've ever talked about it, and I don't know if you've seen it, but I think they're referred to as the space gorillas from Attack the Block.
I have seen Attack the Block, but I don't remember what they look like.
So they have this, they run on all fours. They've got like almost neon colored blue eyes and mouths, but they are furry, which you do not see a lot in alien life form within the sci-fi genre. They're furrier.
Space is cold. There should be more furry space creatures given the temperature of space.
There really should be.
Because they're all pretty bald all over their body, most other aliens,
Yeah.
It would make sense that they'd have something to keep them toasty.
I think they're based off of people's quote-unquote real sightings of them.
Wait, what?
When people describe, like, if you've heard people claim that they've been abducted by aliens.
Oh, okay. You're saying the hairless ones. Yes.
I'm saying from what we know in our culture.
Nobody's had a furry anal probe yet.
No one's been that probed comfortable
by the furry aliens. That's fair. That's a good point.
But the space gorillas move so quickly. They move in packs. They like I said, they run on all fours. It's like being chased by an alien animal army.
They're more like beast-like. I like it.
Correct.
I know they got Attack the Block 2 coming out. I'm excited for that because I remember liking the first one, but it's one of those ones I never got around to seeing again. But I know I should.
Yeah.
Because it's funny as hell too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's another blending of like well, I had never seen an alien movie in an urban environment like in like an inner city type of a movie before.
That's a good point. The setting alone.
Maybe within Cloverfield, I guess, but
yes,
this takes place like in the certain parts of within London, I believe. So
right.
Yeah,
and this is like late or early aughts. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay, fair. I'm gonna jump to my 15, and this also deals with younger kids dealing with an alien, and that is Super 8's Cooper.
Oh, right.
Again, I had to look up what this thing looked like because it's one of those movies you don't really see a lot of it. And simply because it's menacing children, I think gives it an extra fear factor. And also, it looks like somebody that would win in Street Fighter. It looks like a Street Fighter character or a Mortal Kombat character, more appropriate.
There you go.
Looks like a Mortal Kombat character with its 4 arms and 2 legs that kind of like split apart into 2 different hooves on each leg. It's menacing looking. Again, this white thing that doesn't seem to have any actual like body mass in it. It's like bones and muscle only. But just the sheer fear that the children have of it, I think translates pretty well via this J.J. Abrams vehicle. I think Spielberg produced this one too. I don't remember loving Super 8, but I remember thinking that the alien was cool. And when I re-looked what it looked like, it is pretty scary looking.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched. That's another one I've only seen once.
Same. But, I mean, I think that might be a good one to revisit this year, given at the end of this year, we have Spielberg's The Fableman coming out, or what's based on Spielberg's youth, why he became a director. And given that he always talked about how this kind of was the representative of what was going on in his mind when he was first making movies as a adolescent. They could pair well together. I don't know who's directing The Fableman, though, but I know it's about Spielberg's childhood.
Yeah, he's not allowed to direct that movie, probably.
Probably. What do you got at 15?
15, I have the aliens from They Live, from John Carpenter's They Live.
Oh, okay. All right. So you got to wear the special glasses to see these guys.
You've got to see this. You got to wear the special glasses, but when you do, like, they're just hideous. They've got like a bluish skin tone and big eyes. And I think the most terrifying thing about them, though, is that they have, they've worked their way into our society, and no one can see them unless you. It's a really creepy idea, and obviously
it is. And given what just happened in the Supreme Court, this is not impossible. The way isn't their skin kind of carved out too a little bit, like it's a little gaunt with the blue. But just the idea that nefarious, essentially reptilians, right? In a way, these are the closest probably we see to reptilians, at least on my list. These creatures that are essentially trying to make life worse on Earth for humanity, trying to kind of corral us. What is their end objective?
I believe just to like take over all of humanity,
power, run things,
and this is based off of the idea of consumerism and the government just I mean the hidden messages in here. It's
like advertising and all that.
Advertising, brainwashing.
There
you go.
Yeah, I totally see that.
Very fun movie though.
Yes, I remember there's some fun fight scenes in the alley if I remember.
Oh yeah, epic.
14. I haven't seen this one, so I saw it at the theater at AMC back in the day in Winfield. Pitch Black's Bioraptors.
Oh, yep.
Do you remember these things? They're kind of like pterodactyls.
They're number 10 on mine.
They're number 10 on you. Okay, so we're kind of in the same range here. Just the fact that they thrive in the dark, makes them scarier, right? Is this the only one that can like attack you pitch dark, no problems?
Correct.
I think
the idea there is that they're like a swarm as well. It's almost like the equivalent of like cockroaches, just the way they move and they're quick and they move together and the idea that it's pitch black is terrifying. Right. So you can hear them moving and ugh.
And am I crazy? But I think let me double check this. They're also really white, like hyper white creatures.
I think
they look kind of like hammerhead sharks with wings.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
It's a really unique design. I mean, I will give the design credit alone. The eyes being on either end like a hammerhead, that might be the least scary part about it.
Right.
Because it makes them look kind of stupid. But that's why they swarm together. And the teeth are horrible, and they, of course, got talons raptor style, hence the Bioraptor name. And if I remember, I didn't watch the Chronicles of Riddick, those subsequent movies, but that first one, Pitch Black, was pretty decent, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
It was
first one, then it went downhill.
Yeah. They built out the universe. They're like, who is this character and where did she come from? The necromongers and
right before Vin Diesel was steeped in controversy in his disdain for The Rock essentially stealing all of his parts.
Right.
Okay, what you got at 14?
My number 14, I think this is the first time that we're doing this on our list, is that this is an alien, a different type of alien from another movie. These are the face huggers from the Alien.
Oh, okay.
So the face huggers from the Alien franchise.
That's fair. I'm going to reserve my talking about that because I bunched up all aliens in the Alien.
Gotcha. Okay.
And its placement on my list, but they're freaking horrifying. What scene with the face huggers hit you the hardest?
I mean,
in
I
the
think
Alien series, because they show up in all of them.
Right. We're talking the first movie after God, who is it? The first on the
John Hurt when he gets
is it John Hurt? Yeah. Oh,
okay,
God.
so essentially the first time we see it,
the
burst
first
out of the
time
egg
you see him
and
burst out,
gets John Hurt good.
The disgusting
Through
look.
the helmet.
It's not
wraps around your neck.
That's what I was just going to say. It's not just that it's, on your face. It's also wrapped around your neck, crunching your throat. It's disgusting, and just the idea.
Yeah, it's
terrifying.
Like the death squeeze around your neck.
It is. And you can't see, obviously.
Well, I considered that part of the whole being of Alien. Hence, it's a little higher. We'll talk about where it lands on mine.
All
but
right.
Absolutely horrifying. And that specific part of the... what do you call all of them? Like the Xenomorph is when it's the black thing, right? And then in the new ones, like Covenant, there's what is the Ovomorph? And then, of course, in that third one, there's the dog alien. Is that still considered a Xenomorph? Because it came out of the dog, I guess. The Xeno just means change, right? I don't know.
There's a whole list of the names.
Oh, okay.
I mean, and not just, the one you mentioned, the Ovomorph, but there's also the Neomorph.
Okay.
Which was in Alien Covenant.
Okay. So the Ovomorph, is that from Prometheus then? Is that the one that comes out of the big guys? What are they called again? The explorers, the researchers, I can't remember the name of the big bald guys that are 10 feet tall.
Oh, right.
The ones with the chairs in the first one. I love how Prometheus builds upon that lore. I know people give Prometheus a lot of shit, but I loved it in the theater. It's got holes, sure, but I thought it was really effective. And going back to that first one, the way it did so subtly, I wasn't expecting. And we got our little alien at the end there. It was this little cute little guy.
There's also the alien that's I think they call it the newborn. Oh gosh, it's almost more human-esque. Oh God, remember it's got almost looks like a skull face.
Oh, you're talking about 4 in Resurrection.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because it's technically part
Ripley, right? Yeah.
Yes. It's got these really deep set eyes and it's like her baby. Yeah. But it's the most revolting thing. And kills our Chucky actor. What's that guy's name? Voice of Chucky? No, that's a character.
Well, his character's name.
Yeah. Anyways, he gets my beautiful, beautiful baby. I just remember while he's like glued to the wall looking at this thing.
Right.
He's taking credit for it, even though it's because he was the geneticist to make this. It's probably that to me is probably individually of all the alien incarnations the scariest looking one. I don't think mentally it's scary, but looks wise, it's definitely horrifying. And then the way that it goes, getting like sucked out a hole so slowly.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. Woo, I'll tell you what. Okay, 13. It's one that another one I'm not sure I actually finished. But for me, it's the Formix from Ender's Game. And again, we have a bug-like creature, very menacing body, but they have very like moth-like, like fly-like wings. To me, that seem very easy to like rip, almost like Midnight Mass sort of. You could rip the wings and really hobble this thing. Where I see a plan of attack with the Formix in a way I don't with some of these other aliens, which They're definitely ugly, and any sort of like human-sized insectoid is always going to get me. Kafka style.
Oh, same.
Not
same.
Okay.
Not okay.
But I can't actually remember whether I liked the movie. I'm assuming it was. Did you see Ender's Game, this new one?
Yeah. Harrison Ford's in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it once.
Okay. Not remarkable.
No.
Okay. Fair.
No.
Fair. But again, bug aliens, this is definitely a trope. It seems like from people's models, the likeliest alien out there is going to be insectoid in nature.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll talk about that too. My number 7 is very much like that. But my number 13, I did what I think you just mentioned. You did closer to the top here and like lumping aliens together. I did that with the movie The Mist.
Oh, you can. Okay, are those are aliens?
Yes, they're aliens from another dimension. Though. Like the portal opens up.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So did they qualify space creatures? Because I had thought about that and I was unclear whether or not they qualified.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, they're not from Earth.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair. It is a different space entirely. That's a good point.
And they range in all sizes. They're also some bugs, but there's the one with the giant tentacle in the beginning in the back of the store. There's obviously the massive one we see at the end.
Massive one, and the one that like breaks through the window. It's like a
it's like a giant hummingbird type pterodactyl.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that was horrible. And that I think it like had poisonous. It was venomous, right?
Right. And then there was the whole bunch of spiders in the next store.
Oh, that's right. The Mist is such a brilliant movie. Why did they screw up the TV show so hard?
I didn't even start the TV show
with it.
No,
you tried it though.
No, I wanted to, and then I heard the reviews were coming in, and they were just not good. And then I'd heard the show was canceled. And I'm like, well, why am I gonna invest my time?
It's worth it just for maybe watch Frances Conroy. She's really interesting when she's in these horror movies. We talked about last week. What's that? Wicker Man with Kate. She's one of the highlights of that newer one. Well, that's fair. That's fair. I can understand that lump. 12 we talked about for me with the white spike. What you got at 12?
My number 12 is Pennywise.
There you go. Now
Pennywise,
that's a clown to be scared
from It. Now I remember as a kid watching the TV version, with Tim Curry, and being very terrified of him. And I think they did an excellent job with the Bill Skarsgård, but because they do so much more, and they show his his mouth, everything done in the Tim Curry version was very practical with the effects and makeups. But I think you really get to see more of the alien that he is in the 2 new movies.
I mean, he can transmogrify pretty good too, right? Can he become anything he wants?
I think so. Almost more like a Freddy Krueger idea, though. I don't know if it's like reality or if it's more of like. I
see. So mental projection sort of stuff.
I think he can do that, but then when you actually see him and with his razor teeth, I mean, we see that at the start of the movie when he just bites off. Who's the little boy? Frankie?
Bobby? Is it Bobby? Danny?
I don't remember now.
It's a little kid's name.
Yeah, the poor little boy in this rain slicker gets his arm just chewed right off and a bite.
I do say, like, you can't. That scene is so amazing. I feel like the rest of both, then that rest of that movie and then the sequel,
it's hard.
Trying to catch up with that one moment because it's just so iconic. But I think they did a pretty decent job, especially with the projector. I know I brought up the projector scene before.
Oh, that's
comes through. Oh, it's kind of sinister-esque where you're playing with film itself being the villain. So a Pennywise I forgot was an alien. Didn't make my list.
Yeah.
But he would, if I had remembered, I would have replaced. I mean, he would have probably made my top 10 for sure, without a doubt.
Right. Well, my number 11 we just talked about. My number 11 were the slugs from Slither.
Okay. Yeah.
So we can do.
And there's just there's so many of them that you can't help but be horrified by it.
I know. Disgusting.
My 11 is the exact opposite of that. We're going big. We're talking about Clover here. Clover from Cloverfield. This one's a little more personal for me because I used to have recurring dreams about Godzilla. So any sort of like kaiju situation kind of hits a soft spot with me. And this one, because of the found footage and the amazing PR campaign when that movie first came out.
Oh, yeah.
It's stuck with me. I like it to this day. And that's another one where you have like these really up and coming actors that made it big post Cloverfield's release.
Right.
I hated the Cloverfield Paradigm, which was a follow-up, but I love 10 Cloverfield Lane.
So good. So good.
And I guess you could kind of put that alien in there with it. You don't see much of it, but it is at the end.
But you do see it at the end, yeah.
You do see it at the end. But just the kaiju itself, the idea of something just can step on a house is always going to get me.
Right.
And that one I don't know. I don't exactly know where it came from. Cloverfield lore is still muddled, right?
Yeah. I was going to ask about that. I think they explain it in the third, in the
in Paradigm.
Yeah, I believe they mention that it's like an alternate Earth or something along those lines.
All right.
So I think they're able to justify it because I think that technically is a prequel. I don't remember.
Here's what also beyond Clover, we're just talking about the alien creatures in it. The smaller ones too that get them in the train tunnels. That I think
I was just going to say,
the girl from Lizzie Kaplan.
Yep.
Those are also horrifying. So Clover definitely deserved a spot. Didn't quite make my top 10.
It's in my top 10. Yeah, it's in my top 10. Yeah.
Fair.
But what do you got my number 10 are the Bioraptors from Pitch Black.
Fair. What about them scares you the most?
I think it was the idea that this took place on another planet, and I think
it's their terrain. They had home field advantage.
Yeah. They're so fast and so creepy. I just think it was a really well directed movie.
Fair. My 10 is one that we've talked a lot about in Icon Showdown. I'm pretty sure it won its year. We're talking about the Blob, baby.
I was going to say it's got to be the Blob. Now we're talking about the 1988 version, right?
Yes, the 1988 version. Again, when we talked about the Batman villains, Clayface, these sort of amorphous creatures that can suck in other stuff. We're talking Stranger Things season 3 here, where the bodies just amalgamate into one thing. That's really gross to me. And it has a biological analog. You know what I mean? This is something that I could see actually existing and needing sustenance and then becoming bigger just by taking in biological matter. The Blob's scary to me. The way that it dissolves the people in that is some of the most frightening horror images that stick with me. I definitely remember we talking about just how impacted I was by the Blob.
Right.
I saw a lot more going on there than just this silly monster in most people's eyes, you know?
Yeah. No, I thought that movie is very underrated.
Definitely.
Here's a question. I'm going to throw you a curveball. We talked about grabbers.
Right.
A few weeks ago for St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
They're alien life form as well, correct?
It's not an under the sea thing. It's an alien for sure.
That's what I'm questioning because I didn't rewatch it for that. I was going to ask you, could that technically qualify?
From my perspective, they don't. There's no like. I only know that it came from the sea.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other origin beyond it coming from the sea. But I'm not sure. When I was watching it, I wasn't thinking about this cast, of course, and I should have been. Looking ahead. No,
it's just because when you're thinking about alien movies, you don't think about the ocean necessarily, and the ocean and outer space to me feel,
Speaking of which, now I'm going to hit you with one because I thought about it, but I don't remember the movie well enough to espouse upon it. The Abyss, is that an alien or is that just an undersea entity?
That's another good question.
That's another one we're going to have to investigate.
Yeah.
Because that's actually kind of a nice one though, right? The Abyss?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So that's not so scary then. Still.
There is one I could say that is like a sea creature that's an alien from the movie The Host. It's a South Korean film.
Okay, yeah.
That one could have been. And that's an alien.
I think I saw that a while ago. And
well, just do a whole subgenre of sea creatures. Are they aliens?
Yeah, that's not a terrible idea. Okay, so what do you got at 9?
My number 9 is a movie that you said you didn't see before we got this going. This is it's such a funny way of saying it. The Bald Albino from Pandorum.
When I looked it up and was giving labels of the ones that didn't have official
Bald
names,
Albino.
all I saw was this little bald albino kid with some jagged teeth. And I don't know what else to call
well,
him.
the imagery is terrifying. Not because it's just, not because it's bald, not because it's albino, but because
we're pretty scary.
But because this takes place on a spaceship. This was I believe it's from like 2009. It kind of went under the radar because it got just destroyed by critics. And
Dennis Quaid usually gets destroyed by critics. But it does have Ben Foster. I was hoping he might be,
whom I love,
one to lift it up a bit.
Yeah. Well, it also has Norman Reedus, and he's a fan favorite out there within the horror genre as well.
True.
And this movie is kind of like an homage to Alien, but it also reminds me of the really great horror film, The Descent. Because this is a massive spaceship that's heading towards a new Earth. That whole storyline. Our current Earth is being left behind. But here is the curveball, and I could probably say why this couldn't be, why it shouldn't be on the list necessarily, is because these creatures are old crew who were mutated. But the terrifying thing though is it kind of reminds you of the Donner Party, that they were surviving by eating each other
while they're in hypersleep.
Well, I think,
at first,
believe the storyline is that they're almost like different crews. Like you sleep and then you work for 2 years as the crew, and then you return to hypersleep. And I believe, it doesn't always go as planned. So the movie's name is Pandorum, and that's actually the condition that happens to you while you're in deep space. Is the lore to this movie is that you're experiencing Pandorum and you kind of lose your mind and you eat your crewmates. That old story,
honestly,
that old
I'm
children's tale.
I am gonna go and watch that one because it does sound kind of fun.
Yeah,
with Ben Foster alone, so I'll definitely check it out. My number 9 is from one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's the Arachnids and Starship Troopers, baby.
That's my number 7. That's my number 7.
Freaky as hell. The way that they impale and just dismember.
Oh yeah,
because they're insectoid, they just are like non-thinking war machines. It's like you've seen like those ants that are just the combat ants. You know what I mean? They just go at it with no holds barred and slice and dice you. I'm less scared of the brain bugs that Neil deals with. But the actual the only good bug is a dead bug. That's one of the best lines in the movie.
And then
you have this like house mom just dropping a bunch of cockroaches and smashing them with her foot.
Right.
It's such a fun movie, and it has legitimate scares too. I think it's such a gem. It's one of the few posters I had in my room as a teenager with Starship Troopers, Johnny Rico, and Diz. It was just, it made such an impact on me because it's satire. It's this like amazing satire, but it just so happens to have these creatures that are horrifying. Really scary. It's kind of like,
I completely agree. And the size of them.
Yeah.
The size of them. That's why they made mine
insane. Bigger than cows, right? I remember there's like one scene where it just shows it annihilate a cow in a heartbeat. Size of elephants, maybe? What would you say?
Man, I was gonna say even a little bit larger than an elephant.
A little bit bigger than an elephant.
I almost feel like they're the size of like a garbage truck.
Yes, I think that's right. And they're pointy. They have so many points. There's a lot of pointedness on them. But they deserve to be up there because I would not want to deal with an arachnid at all.
No. I think the only way to beat them is with like the artillery that they have. That's another thing is like they show like what's inside of the arachnids. It's disgusting.
Right.
It's almost like slime. Green slime, or is it pink? I don't remember.
Like when the brain bug put its tentacle in the head of the really smarmy guy.
Yes.
Who was the one that stole Denise Richards, who went to my high school. Just disclaimer.
That's right. She
did go to Downers Grove.
Downers, yeah.
But she stuck into the brain of the guy that stole her from Johnny Rico. And he also was the guy that stole Kelly Kapowski from Zach Morris and Saved
That's
by
right,
the Bell.
Jeff.
So
That's
he
Jeff.
had it coming, man. I was really satisfied to see him go.
Yeah, when he met Kelly at the attic, yeah,
he got brain drained. That is kind of scary. In that when they drain your brain, I'm going to talk about it here in a second here with Edge of Tomorrow's mimics. But when they can understand the human brain too, that adds an element of fright for me. Even though the brain bugs were kind of goofy looking slugs, them working with the arachnids, it's generals and soldiers sort of thing. So
right,
they're organized. And they come at us on meteors, which kind of mess with the planet themselves. Come in there, tear up entire cities. Starship Trooper ain't messing around. What do you got at 9, or have you already shared?
No, my number 9 was the Pandorum, the bald albino.
Okay, so what you got for 8?
My number 8 are the Greys from Dark Skies.
Oh my goodness. I have combined all my Greys. Okay. And are wicked higher than yours because it feels like if there is aliens, there's a good chance that's what it actually is. You're talking about the Greys from which one specifically?
Dark Skies.
Dark Skies Greys are scary as hell.
Yeah. That to me is like on this list, just to kind of repeat what you just said, are probably the most humanoid, like realistic version of what an alien might actually look like.
And we'll talk about aliens who do this as well, but the way that they toy with people is scary in itself.
Yeah.
They just don't go in for the kill or the abduction. Mm-mm. They mess with your mind so much, essentially make you go crazy before they get on with it. What's the JK, the guy who plays the dude in charge of the newspaper in Spider-Man? He's got a little bit
JK
cameo
Simmons.
in it. JK Simmons. I will say Dark Skies, I love this movie. I've seen it probably like 5 times now.
Yeah.
A little formulaic. I hate saying that, but watching other movies, I feel like, okay, now it's time to go talk to the expert. What's going on? Let's figure out. They go to Simmons. It did feel a little paint by numbers when I look at it with a critical eye. Right. But here we have Kerry Russell, and she's just proven herself to be a goddess of horror. Between this and Antlers, I'm really enjoying that she's doing a little more genre now because she gets effectively scared. And the way that these Greys mess with you or mess with her and her family is legit.
Do you remember a movie, the Mila Jovovich movie, The Fourth Kind, I think it's called?
I remember the name. I don't remember.
Okay. I was just about to ask, because I believe that's more like a mockumentary style.
Okay. You know what? Film. I kind of do remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just wondering if they show anything in that movie, like the Greys.
I don't recall that, but I'm pretty sure that one's based on a true story, if I remember correctly, where she's actually playing somebody that had recounted her experience. I don't remember it being very good, though. I think I have seen it twice.
No, I don't remember enjoying that movie. Certainly, Dark Skies is a better film.
But Greys for me were number 3, man. Greys all across the board. And what Dark Skies does so good about it is it really gives you a sense of what they are. Yeah. There's the reptilians, the Greys, and then the little guys. I can't remember the little guys' names. But the Greys are the ones that like to psychologically mess with us. They're not benevolent. They're like trickster aliens, if you will. And they happen to be, I think they're scarier looking than reptilians even, Give me Bowser from the Super Mario movie, which is essentially a reptilian, over one of these Greys any days. But the one that really got me, because I watched the movie way too young, was Fire in the Sky. The Greys and Fire in the Sky, and just like etched into my mind. They're scary because if there are aliens, I think there's a strong chance they're gonna be a little more humanoid because they could be us from the future. We don't know what's up. I don't sound like Joe Rogan now, but I don't know what to say.
No, I mean, I think the terrifying thing about the Greys is actually the fact, like when you think about it, their skin color is what it is because they probably are not as close as the sun as we are, or it's just it's creepy to think about.
Right. And
they're probably listening to us right now, and they're going to get upset.
They probably are. They're enjoying. They could be in their own because they do have the capacity to be invisible. If they are, they're disappointed that you haven't put them higher. I at least gave you a 3.
Well, I didn't combo them. My number 5 spot has some more gray aliens.
Oh, okay.
But they're different. They're different.
Okay. My 8. You might be surprised because I bet it's higher on your list. Predator. Predator that's my number 4. That's your 4. It loses scare factor for me because of the helmet. When Completely you take off the helmet, it becomes exponentially scary. Well, Demogorgon sort of has a face opens up sort of thing.
With some like claws.
But at the same time, what is less scary for me is it has this Craven the Hunter aspect to it, where it hunts man for sport, and I feel like for sport is not a scary motive. You know what I mean? It is a little, but not in the same way. We'll talk about the number 1, why it needs humans. You know, I mean, you've already talked about it, but the sport aspect of it with the Predators takes it down a notch, even though they look horrifying. Yeah. I just think they're a little too ambitious.
No. Yeah. No, I put them up a little bit higher, but I'll explain my reasoning in a little bit here.
Fair.
My number 7 we've already discussed with the Arachnids.
The Arachnids. My number 7 is not unlike the Arachnids. I got mimics there from Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, sure.
I just remember because they moved so fast, and they the first time I saw it in the theater, I saw it in an IMAX, and it just hit. It was like, yes, this is a new sort of thing, alien style. I haven't seen the way that they move, the way that the whole movie moves, like a video game kind of.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
It got me. It was legitimately scary in premise for me. Granted, it's more action, I guess, than horror, you could say. But at the same time, I don't know. Like I said, the time stuff, when aliens have the capacity to mess with time.
Yeah, they've got it all figured out. I think this is the advanced civilization.
Brown plus the alien, you're in trouble. What do you got at 6?
My number 6 is the Kaiju from Cloverfield.
Oh, fair. Mine's Death Angels from Quiet Place.
All right.
Because they're a lot like Arachnids. To me, those two are super kind of close.
Sure.
Maybe the Death Angels are a little smaller in nature. I think I got to give credit just to the script, the way that Quiet Place, both of them exhibit these monsters, make them scary. But you're gonna die. I mean, you're gonna sneeze. You're gonna cough. You're gonna fart. You're doomed in this world, I would say, unless you're in a bubble. So just the fact that they have such an evolutionary advantage freaks the shit out of me.
Yeah. What do you think is left to be scary about the Quiet Place?
What? Okay, because we're talking about day 1 here, how they're making Quiet Place day 1.
Yeah, they just announced the other day that they're doing a prequel series, or the 3rd installment will be a prequel. And like, I think you have to follow a different family, right? Because in number 2, we saw day 1.
I hope so. Especially if Krasinski's not on board to direct, is he now just going to be willing to act in his baby? That seems unrealistic, because in day 1, theoretically, we could get more of them. But I would much prefer a different family, 100%. And like a different, like a urban area might be fun as hell. You know, you're going to have to give me some sort of different setting entirely than what we've seen. And especially if it's day 1, this is going to be mayhem. We're talking like that beginning part that we love of War of the Worlds, but the whole movie of that, you know, give me that. Give me the Cloverfield creatures in the sewer. I think it's going to be scary if they're able to go more confined with it, but in a larger area, hence urban.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you think they're going to bring in some sort of other creature, or is this the creature?
I think they have to. We have to learn more about them. I think that's the only thing that can be scary is if we follow somebody who's like, I already knew about this, or I don't know. I think you just have to learn more about their purpose, and that's the only thing that can be really scary is like, why are they here? I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Why are they here? I hope it's not like War of the Worlds to just use us as food goo, whatever the hell they were doing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I could see maybe there being different incarnations. Maybe these are adult Death Angels.
Maybe this is just the first wave. These are who they send in first.
Right. Yeah. I think there's a lot of room to play with. What?
Yeah.
But what were you going to say?
I was going to say, but if it's a prequel and we're going back to day one, we may not even see that. So I don't know. It'll be really interesting. And I know they have restraints, but they know what they're doing.
True. There's hope.
Okay.
There's hope.
My number, I don't want to talk about the Kaiju because we've already done that, but my number 5 are the other gray aliens that I was alluding to. And
okay, let's hear about this.
These gray aliens are from a segment from VHS 2.
I have not seen VHS or VHS 2.
Okay, so VHS 2 has a segment about these gray aliens, and they are one of the most, as far as gray aliens go, the most hostile I've seen. So not only the thing that separates them from other gray aliens, though, I believe they're taller, they're stronger, they're like almost like fit, which you don't see in gray aliens. You just see like this slender, like
it doesn't seem goofy too. Their fitness.
No, it seems terrifying because they have got claws. It's almost like the Scream mask. Their mouth is open. Yeah. And they're just
so flies get in. Shut that mouth.
They probably don't mind that, but what they do mind is the human race, because they just seem like they're like savage, like they're just there to like kill anything, children, teenagers.
Is VHS 1 about these creatures too?
No, so the VHS movies are segments from different directors, like just short horror films without. So this is just a segment.
Series. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
All right, I will definitely check that out. That sounds.
Check them out. We're probably getting close to talking about all. My number 4 is Predator, which you've already talked about. But the thing that
my number 5, before we do that, was the Enigma, essentially the planet in Solaris that has the capacity to read minds and toy with you and bring back dead relatives and loved ones that have passed. It's not necessarily malevolent, but the way that it's godlike is scary to me. It's like the most godlike, at least questionably benevolent, but the next on my list is godlike as well, but less ambiguous in motive, I guess. But I would argue that Solaris is pretty horrific in nature, in the way that it psychologically bats around its protagonist. Did you find it scary at all, or am I kind of
no? I did.
On a limb on this one.
I haven't seen it in so long, but yeah, I think you nailed it. It's one of those ideas that I think the only other iteration of that I've seen is like a living planet from like the Marvel universe. So
right, exactly. Just the sheer size of it and the way that can know you as a little ant. It's my number 4 is the antithesis of that. I'm just going to call it the malevolent force in Event Horizon.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember this is a 97 movie, I want to say, and I was so excited. Oh, we got Sam Neill. It's the first time I've seen Sam Neill since Jurassic Park. I can't wait. He's not going to be in the sequel of Lost World, but at least I get the Fifth Element, and then I get in there as a junior in high school or whatever, and that movie rocked me, man. It was so freaky. And I hear there's so many scenes that have been cut. Is there a director's cut of it? Because if there is, I need to watch it. because it was so demonic.
Essentially,
you have this malevolent force that attaches itself to a ship after they've gone through a wormhole.
Mm-hmm.
So just that in itself, and our just inability to really understand what happens when you get through a worm. If you get through a worm, you can't really get through a wormhole, but just the whole
we don't know
super quantum science going on there adds to the scary part, because again, it's dealing with like a real science. It's like hard science fiction there, but then with this horrible, again, force that knows everything about you and can use your own weaknesses against you, and manifest images and I think actual physicalities too. So I think Fifth Element, not Fifth Element, I'm sorry, Event Horizon is definitely one of the scariest.
Well, that's a good one
around at the same time, but
it's almost like a good take, like on a spaceship that's like a haunted house type of a
that's a good way to put it.
Like you don't see that a lot,
right? Well, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, my grays were 3. I just amalgamated all the grays. That was my 3.
Yeah.
And I think there's 2 big names we haven't mentioned. And there's a good chance.
Yeah, because my number 3 was the Death Angels from A Quiet Place. We've touched on that enough, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think our top 2 are probably the same.
Number 2
for me was The Thing.
The Thing is also my number 2.
There you go.
Simply because it can look like anything, right?
Oh God, yeah.
And even when it's looking like, when it's changing, it's so grisly.
Yeah.
And mean, and essentially just wants to destroy all of humanity.
Yeah. I think these top 2 are just, they're just so well known that we really don't have to go down the, I think everyone feels the same way. I mean, The Thing is just...
The Thing is, they need disgusting. To do it again, right?
Grotesque.
It is. Grotesque is right. Body horror to the extreme. Very, very gross. I had mentioned to you in an email how a couple weeks ago I played The Thing, the board game.
Right. And I meant to ask you about that.
Because ultimately it was everyone is either a human and then there's one thing, but nobody knows who the thing is. So I guess somebody told me it's a lot like the game Secret Hitler, which I haven't played. But it was such a blast trying to do missions and then having a saboteur amongst you while you're trying to do the missions. Really felt like I was in Carpenter's The Thing.
That's super fun.
Which just the isolation too, on top of it all, them being in the Arctic as they are, adds to the scare factor.
Yeah. That may as well have been a spaceship, It was like outer space on Earth is Antarctica.
Which leads us to our number 1, because in space, no one can hear you scream.
This is the epitome. Like, this is when you think...
It can't be beat.
No. The Xenomorph is the scariest space creature that,
100%. In all
think
forms.
It sets the bar.
Egg is gross. Mm-hmm. The facehugger, gross. The first incarnation of the Xenomorph, when it pops out of your chest, horrifying.
Yeah. Chest burster.
The chest burster. And in the way I was talking about the motives of the Predator kind of being lackluster and takes away from the scariness, the motives of aliens is scary as it gets, because we're essentially incubators for them. They don't even want to eat us. They just need us to host their young, which is what do they eat though? Has that ever been established? Do they not? How do they grow? I haven't really thought about that until just now.
I think that they've...
You think they do eat biomatter? Maybe they do eat? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's something I'm going to have to research. But yeah, as we talked about before, every other incarnation, including the Queen Alien, super scary.
Yeah. And the Xenomorph is what, like I said, it's the bar. So if you are creating a new science fiction horror movie, you need to not only meet the scariness of the Xenomorph, but you need to think about its design.
That being said, in the first one you do see that it's a man in a suit one too many times, maybe, especially in the last scene, but it doesn't matter because of the atmosphere, and it never fails to entertain me. I just freaking love it.
No, it's and I cannot wait for the series.
We'd get hate mail if we put anything other than Alien as number 1 too.
I think so.
No.
Luckily, we're not idiots.
Luckily, we know our space creatures.
We know what we're talking about here, people.
Clearly.
I don't think it gets any scary. I mean, think about just like the wetness of it and the drool and like just everything about it.
Acid blood. We didn't even mention that. I mean, seriously. They have built-in mechanisms that are horrifying. And yeah, their teeth look like silver or something. I'm looking at my Funko of the Alien Queen right now. It's just giving me the willies. Yeah.
Disgusting.
She's a bitch. She's a real bitch, that Alien Queen.
She is. She really is. Way to ruin a good mission.
Oh, and her egg sacs, that long ass tube that came out, just so insectoid like. Hate cockroaches, so gets me. It wins.
Disgusting.
Hands down.
Hands down. No question.
And you're right. Let's hope that the series is badass.
Yeah.
But I think we done did another episode.
I think that's it. It's in the can.
Thanks for listening, jerks.
Thank you,
and friends.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm the jerk. I take it all back. I just want y'all to stay alive. Just stay alive.
There you go. Over and out. All right. Well, we were going to talk about Midsommar, but we are just about out of time. What are we at? An hour and 16? So we were going to talk about Midsommar, but it looks like we're out of time here. We're trying to be conscious of what... of how much audio people can consume of the two of us. So that was us talking folk. Stay alive, people.